So let's see. Here we are on the second day of this retreat, and kind of launching gently into part two of this talk, this single long talk in 4 parts on why koans. Yesterday, I was sort of trying to back up a bit and consider, well, why practice? And of course, that's a large question that we continue to discover sort of why to practice endlessly, more and more richly, and kind of fully and thoroughly as we go. So we may begin practice for commonly because of personal suffering. I'd say that that's likely the most widespread reason. It was Shakyamuni's reason. But as we go, you know, the motivation for practice, the purpose of practice can greatly kind of expand and change, and it can almost become, well, what's the purpose of life? And then what's the purpose of things existing even? You know, it's sometimes, you know, said that one of the conditions for human suffering is that we know we're going to die. We know all this is finite. But you know, as we practice more and as we consider things, we realize that, well, everything is going to end. That all conditioned things, you know, arise, endure, change, and pass away. So that means, obviously, all organisms, but it also means, you know, even mountains, rivers, oceans, they too are actually subject, in a sense, to mortality. It's on a much bigger time scale, but they too will end. Even this planet will end. It will come to an end. So there's actually isn't there some kind of a sweet comfort in that? We're all going to the same place of what? Non-existence? We're all going there. Oceans too. We're all in this same boat, so to speak. You know, not just us humans, not just all animals and beings, and not just all animate things, but everything. We're all coming up out of whatever we don't know, the great unknown, and returning to the zero, whatever that is, you know. So yeah, just a few further notes really on the you know, the core basic Buddhist practice that we've touched on a bit, you know, is mindfulness. That's the 4 foundations of mindfulness are the 4 foundations of meditation practice. And I just want to remind us actually a little bit about the value of this sort of basic mindfulness practice that gives us so much. It is really the space in which many personal wounds can heal. We can develop in it much more self-love and much more love for others. And also, I would hope, love for, I was talking yesterday about this incredible planet that's in bloom, blooming with life. And it seems to me that, can we really have a more important sort of, I don't know, project in life than learning to love it, giving it our love? Um, I want to just actually, excuse me, I got all kinds of papers here. Let me just, I want to just read something. Um, yeah, why practice? The modern approach to well-being can be kind of like this. I get my exercise down, my sleep down, my mindfulness down. I got my revenue stream rolling. My relationships are in order. Like diet, check, exercise, check, mindfulness, check. But here's a little corrective there. Is that really enough to get all the ducks in a row? And mindfulness is one of them. Here's a different view, that actually there's a wild, messy, chaotic, marvelous loveliness to being alive in this world. It may look like chains of coding, proteins, fractals, game theory, whatever, deep down at a submicroscopic level. But on the level of our wildly sensitive, curious, tender, excitable human hearts and minds, to be alive in the atmosphere of this planet is at bottom a wild adventure in love. If we're not actively feeling love, if our hearts aren't alive with that one emotion, with all its shades and nuances of feeling, that is really the heart's lifeline, then somehow maybe we're not fully alive. That's in major part, I contend, what this practice is about. Joining the wild play of this cosmos that bursts forth in this array of life, of livingness on this planet. Here, the mineral desert of the galaxy, in its austere beauty, explodes in the wild play of life, of a crazy multiplicity of living things. This is, as far as we know, the universe's garden. This right here is its sort of treasured hothouse, livingness. And it actually is blooming right now as you. Somehow, however crazy it sounds, it sort of loves you so much that it's making you, giving you your life. And our old sort of tired idea, long obsolete, that there's some stern old man in the sky who made all this and made us, waning happily, it did have an intuition that is perhaps kind of right, that our life is given to us. It may be long, it may be short, it may be, in a sense, alone, but to have any lease on life at all is simply a gift. And what is our best way to use the gift? Fortunately, blessedly, amid all the multiplicity of possible responses there could be to that question, there actually is a single very good answer. And if it's missing, life is somehow not quite fulfilled. And the answer is to love, to experience love in our hearts is all that it takes to unwrap the gift of life. Take that as my contention and check it out for yourself and agree or disagree, and please correct me as needed. But, that's what practice is really for, in Henry's humble opinion. And mindfulness is enough for that. We learn through it to, love ourselves and love our life and love our fellows more and more and more. We develop acceptance. We develop more well-being. We come alive more to the wonder of being here. We get more adept at tending suffering, our own and that of others. We have a way of growing through great difficulties that inevitably come, of managing them, of, as I was saying earlier, sort of staying steady through them. All of that comes with mindfulness. And mindfulness actually has, in the early Buddhist view, it's got all of that, and it's a sort of a foundation from which other levels of practice can grow. Namely, from mindfulness, we can move into samadhi, states of marvelous deep absorption, and the so-called jhana states, which are progressive, ever finer grained, more fulfilling absorption states. I was talking a bit about samadhi yesterday. And it's from those, in the old gradualist view, that we can kind of, when the moment is ripe, sort of suddenly a little snip of the scissors in one analogy, and the cucumber is cut from the vine, that we've been growing and growing and growing on the vine of our, let's say, our sort of ordinary view of things, a self in here, world out there, this gradual progression from mindfulness to samadhi to jhana. That's the cucumber ripening until it's no longer needs the vine on which it has grown, and snip, it's cut free. That is the moment of awakening, when our whole world view of being a self in the world is released. And it's a progressive thing. All the ripening has to happen, and when ready, it happens. The lovely, lovely view of practice. Very beautiful. Isn't it marvelous? That everything has its time and its place, and when ripe, when all is prepared, when we're really steady in all these different levels, we're freed. What does that mean, being freed like that? It's sometimes called seeing the deathless, discovering that there has indeed all along been, I don't know, what do we call it? Another dimension. But that's somehow a little bit too concrete, even that. Let's say a level where nothing at all has been going on. A level sometimes of, is said, of no thingness. And that has been with us all along, and it in some way has been who we are. And I love this vision of practice, because it's so sort of welcoming to where we are at any time. You don't have to be hammering on the door of awakening or something. You just meet yourself as you are, with any of those various sort of gradations. Now, the only problem with it, and this is why koans, I think, still have a place in practice. The only problem with it is that in actual fact, life is not quite so tidy. We saw yesterday, this guy comes to practice with the Buddha, and boom, Buddha just sits there and he wakes up. He has that final release. This is what this is the reality that Zen has been trying to sort of face and to help with and to share with us for its long existence, and that actually, you know, this unconditioned no thing is here all the time. It's in my view, you know, I think of course I'm not alone in this. It's sort of, it's always here, and it's somehow, well, I guess they sometimes call it the ground of being. I don't know. I think that can mean different things probably, but it's always here, and it's everything's right now coming from it, and everything actually is it. It's so on that level, you know, we heard about this guy yesterday awakening like that and saying the Buddha has opened the clouds of my delusion. But actually, on this level of the unconditioned, it is happy with everything, even delusion, so to speak. It is actually delusion too. I don't want to get too snarl. I want to snarl anybody up too much with thinking this through. But the point is, it's always here, and therefore, while we might want a staircase, so to speak, the staircase, every step of the staircase, is it already. And this is actually I mean, isn't there something beautiful in that? Isn't there something comforting in that? That, you know, yeah, we may look at a long gradualist path, but we're actually being told, hey, it's great, follow the path, but every step is your destination. You can't fall out of it. You're never out of it. This sort of, I don't know, this loving embrace of the universe or something, you know, it's fully here. You actually don't have to accomplish this step and then this step and then this step, and then you'll discover it. It's actually, it's with us. It is us already. That's kind of the great comfort and wonder of, dare I say, Mahayana practice, of the reality, as it's referred to in Mahayana Buddhism, of shunyata, of emptiness. Emptiness allows the path, and emptiness kind of rolls up the path and no path. Emptiness allows the path, it allows the steps, and also emptiness is each step, even the first one. That's the that's the wonder of Zen. That's the wonder of the koans. You know, I think I better reference the first Zen ancestor in China, Bodhidharma, right now, because he gave us what are considered the 4 marks of Zen, the 4 characteristics of Zen. It's not based on words and letters. In other words, you don't really find it in scripture. It's not, sorry, my slow mind. It's outside all scripture. It's a matter of pointing to the human heart mind and finding that you are this great awakening. You are it. So it's just a matter of sort of seeing your own heart mind, which we could say is, you know, we could also say it's kind of your experience of this moment. This experience you're having right now is your heart mind. And to see that, do I have to say to see it clearly or something like that? is to see that this, your very own experience, is Buddha, awakenedness, awakened reality. It's this, it's just this as we are now. And somehow it's, we settle so that can become clear. We, it can seem in the sort of gradualist path that it's a matter of cultivate this, develop this, and great. I love all that personally. I think it's a great gift to all of us. And maybe on the Zen side, it's there's some of that for sure. We got to learn to settle, learn to be centered, all of that, But it's actually more a matter of release, let go. And as we let go, kind of successively deeper levels, perhaps, we kind of sink into this moment. The experience of this right here, right now, sort of rises up more and more. And as it's doing that, the sense of there being a separate person in here who's sort of surrounded by the world kind of thing, that can release, be released, release itself to the point where it just isn't there anymore. And the tiny little knot at the center of things unties itself. So, okay. So then we find what this heart mind is. It's not that little knot. It's when we discover that little knot, all it really was space, empty space. Then there's space for everything. And nothing's left out. There's no longer a center from which kind of everything else is somehow a bit left out, excluded. Center's gone. And we discover some level of our experience where there's no center. We're not there the way we thought. Everywhere's the center because there's no distance. And all this wonder of appearances kind of just under the surface. It's just one. One no thing. Okay, so that's a little bit of Zen sort of logic kind of thing to practice. Maybe it doesn't sound very logical, but I hope you're getting something from that. Now let's go to Koans. I want to just actually just sort of help us see a little bit how this koan we looked at yesterday, how this relates. Okay, so let's just wind ourselves back. This is the Book of Equanimity, case number 23. Whenever he saw someone coming, Rosso turned and faced the wall. That's the koan. He just turned and faced the wall. Now, many of you know the koan with Mu better. It's very comparable, actually. Joshu, Jiao, he's asked this question about Buddha nature, dog, Buddha nature. He just says Mu. Does a dog have awakened nature? Moo. Rosso sees someone coming. He turns and faces the wall. In both cases, just a simple act. Yeah, Joshu's is speech. Moo. Rosso's is physical. Turns and sits facing the wall. Simple act in either case. Now, actually, although that's really the koan, there's a little bit more, because Rosso studied with Master Baso or Mazu. So did Nanchuan or Nansen. So they're Dharma brothers, alive at the same time. And when Nansen hears that this is how Rosso is doing his teaching, his sharing of awakening, of Zen, of Chan, when Nansen hears that this is how Rosso does it, Nansen comments on it. And this is part of the koan, actually. Well, it's a sort of a secondary part of the koan. Hearing of this, Nansen said, I usually tell people to realize what has existed since before the kalpa of emptiness, the age, the era, the epoch of emptiness. I tell people to realize what's been here since before even that vast epoch of emptiness, prior to this epoch of worlds appearing. A kalpa, an epoch, is an incalculably long period of time. In fact, we once had a scientist who worked it out for us during a session at the Zendo. Helmut Hartmut Grote, who's a physicist, because the traditional, explanation for how long a kalpa is that it's a mile. It's a cubic mile of rock, and every 100 years, a great bird comes down and sweeps its wing across the surface of this cubic mile size rock. And how long it would take for that rock to be worn down to nothing, that's how long a kalpa is. Or in another analogy, metaphor, it's a cubic mile sized sort of tub of seeds. And every 100 years, a bird comes down and eats one seed. So how long it would take for that great tub of seed to be gone, that's how long a kalpa is. So Hartmut calculated, he switched it to a kilometer cube and assumed, a certain number of bird seeds per cubic centimeter or something. And he actually figured it out. I can't remember how many, it was 10 to the power of, I don't know, 100,000 or whatever it was, some vast number of centuries. But anyway, that's how long a kalpa is. So Nansen is saying, he says, I usually tell people, realize what's been here since before the kalpa of emptiness, which preceded this kalpa of worlds appearing, or understand what has been since before Buddhas appeared in the world. I try to get people to realize something, that predates everything. Realize it for yourself. In other words, it's here now, find it for yourself. I'm trying to instruct people, guide people in that kind of way, but still I haven't acknowledged one successor or even half of a successor. If Rosso continues that way, he'll go on till the year of the donkey. Well, in the Chinese horoscope, there is no year of the donkey. So he means if Rosso carries on in that way, he's never going to have anybody who gets his teaching. I mean, I'm trying so hard. I'm telling people this and that and think of this, think of that. And I still haven't I still haven't got even half a person to really realize what I'm trying to convey. That's sort of Nansen's point. What chance does Rosso have if he keeps going like that? So one of the kind of points that we look at when we sit with this koan is actually to try to feel into what Nansen is really saying about Rosso. It kind of seems like he's saying on the surface, isn't that an unhelpful way to try to share Zen? All he does is face the wall. How's that going to help anyone? That seems to be what Nansen's saying. But as we kind of sit with it more, we may start to wonder whether there isn't something else in Nansen's comment. It's a strange thing, actually. You may just start to feel it, that it's actually a very deep appreciation. It brings me to what I want to try to say about koans in general, is that they, here's this simple little act, facing the wall. Here's the simple little act of speech, moo. Now, I believe in a certain sense that any single koan itself offers a big journey. So we start to sit with moo, and initially it's just a sound. As we go deeper and deeper, we start to get more absorbed by the little sound moo. We also sort of perhaps start to absorb the little sound moo more into us. And the point can come where, maybe just for a moment we're sort of confused. I don't know, was I doing moo, or was moo just doing itself? Or, as we get deeper and deeper into it, we can get moments like that. And then we may get weird moments when everything just kind of feels different, intimate. Like the whole of my experience here and now suddenly is like close and intimate. And does moo have something to do with that? How could it? It's just a sort of silly little syllable. I don't even know why I'm saying it, except the teacher said so, or people have said so over the centuries, and it doesn't make any sense, but I'll try it. So, and then we may have a real kind of powerful experience suddenly. Whoa, and we realize, oh my God, I'm seeing what moo really has been all along, and I had no idea. Wow, and it shows me something about myself, profound and shocking. It shows me something about the world, and maybe I'm even getting something of what Nansen was talking about, discovering, what's this pre-emptiness kalpa thing still here now, or something like that. What about if time vanishes? What about if I get clear that time is just a construct? What about if I just really get clear it's truly just a construct? And when I'm really clear on that, the construct ceases. What about if space even is just a construct and that ceases? Mind-blowing things, So that's part of the path. And in one way, we may excuse me, I got a little note here somewhere. Oh yeah, Yamada Koan says, this then is all about discovering that every phenomenon is like a fraction. It's got the numerator on top and the denominator underneath, but we normally only see the numerator. So we live in a world of separate things as a separate thing ourselves. But when we discover the denominator, what's underneath the line of the fraction, that denominator is 0 and it's infinity. He had a little mathematical depiction of infinity sign enclosed by a 0 underneath the numerator. That's the denominator. So when we find that, we find the same denominator shared by all things. So it doesn't matter what the numerator is now, the denominator is there, and it's one denominator because it's infinite and it's empty. Therefore, all things have the same denominator. That's why in a moment of awakening, we discover an absolute oneness, an uncompromising oneness. All this multiplicity, and yet at the same time, absolutely one. And that, of course, is the most heart-healing discovery, probably, I suspect, that we can go through, to find that we are simply part of everything. And it's a very real experience. It's, I mean, what do I mean? It's a very real experience. I mean, when we experience it, there's no doubt about it. And it's really, it's an experience. It's not an idea. Don't think that we're just trying to have nice ideas in this practice. We're not. It's much, much more than that. It's a real discovery. Now, you know, the thing is, though, that that's not the end of the line. The path of the koan goes on, because in time we want to come to realize that every numerator, I mean, sorry, ding, ding, ding. It then, after that kind of a breakthrough moment, it becomes sort of naturally quite tempting, and it's really quite hard to avoid this, to feel that sometimes we're seeing, you know, our ordinary numerator-based way of things, separateness, and sometimes we're seeing this infinite empty one side of things. We've glimpsed it, and we get hits of it thereafter, and we sort of feel we're sometimes occasionally aware of it, and often we're not, and it's a flip-flop back and forth. So then the koan's further sort of evolution in us is when we realize that those two sides, the top and the bottom of the fraction, somehow they're actually one. And, you know, this infinite business is here right now in normal speech, interaction, making tea, going to work. It's here all the time, and it's not one or the other. And but that's not the end of the line. This is why I love Rosso so much, because beyond even that, there's no need to do anything other than love this world as it is. Just sitting. All of that fancy stuff, boundless, infinite, whatever, that can go. Just this. That's the fuller path of a koan, if you see what I mean. You know, do you get what I mean? It's like, I mean, you can see this, any of you who know the ox herding pictures, you know, you see the first two pictures where we're looking for the ox. Third picture, we glimpse the ox. In the undergrowth, part of the ox shows itself. And we know there's a real live living thing, this awakened nature kind of thing. And then in the fourth picture, we see the whole ox, and it's caught. We've got hold of it. That would be, well, it's stable. We're aware of it all the time. I mean, we're not perfect, but we're kind of commonly aware of it. And then the fifth picture is taming the ox, and sixth picture is riding it home. And then in the seventh picture, we're back home, and we've hung up the halter on the wall of the hut. So we're still sort of conscious that there has been an ox, but it's not in the picture anymore. And then in the 8th picture, the ox and the self are both forgotten. And then in the 9th picture, we come back to the source, the spring, where everything is flowing beautifully. And then in the 10th, we're back in the marketplace. Ox, totally forgotten. So this is Rosso. Come and ask me about Zen. No, no, no. He turns and faces the wall. That's it. So can you see what I'm trying to say? That a koan itself carries us through a whole evolution in our sense of things. And I want to say this because I think and I'm going to end with this point, that there are hazards in Zen. There are hazards in koan training. There are hazards in any business of so-called awakening. And the first one is that we can want it. We can want this marvelous experience we hear about. There's a, I'm saying, I'm afraid I can't remember who it was, but I'm just going to read you a little bit here. But basically, some of us get allured by the idea of awakening, enlightenment. It's real. And we may just have to aspire to it. I mean, some lucky folks don't even get caught by it. I'm not interested in that. I want my life. I want this life more fully, more thoroughly. I want to learn to enter it more wholeheartedly. That's enough for me. Great, very good. But some of us, either because we've had intimations of it or because whatever, we want to know about this awakening business where all is one, all is empty. I'm not here. We want that. We're curious. But one master said, people come here looking for gold. All I've got in my hand is some yellow leaves, some old autumn leaves. That's all I've got. They think it's gold. He's saying, I wish I could remember who it was. He's saying, this awakening business is not the gold. It can seem like it. And it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't actually matter if we get the allure of it and follow it and pursue it. It doesn't actually matter. But actually, in the end, it's a means to an end, because the end is that we just inhabit this life and love it and live out of love. This world, we don't want to get caught in some fancy boundless world. No, no, no. It's a means to an end. And the means is, okay, maybe we have to go through that kind of awakening nonsense. But the end is to live and love this world while we can. See what I mean? I hope. I don't know. I can't see anybody because if I look at the screen, I get dizzy. And I'm just looking at this camera, actually. It's not so easy to just look at a camera, but I'm training myself to try to do it. And at the screen, I have to have the computer open so that I can sort of check, that the microphone's on, etc., whatever. But it's covered, so I can't see anybody. So I have no idea Everybody might be asleep for all I know, or everybody's turned off their sound, or everyone's left. I don't know. I don't know if I'm talking to anybody, but I think I guess there may be one or two diehards who are still here. I hope this is making some sense. But yeah, I think I just said it actually. Means to an end. So hazard number one, we get too caught up in wanting to get something. But if we're wanting to get something, I mean, that's classic mindfulness 101, is here and now is where we reside as it is. It's okay to have an aspiration. It's okay to have an intention, but don't let them sneak in and become a gaining idea, a desire in your actual practice. I mean, if they do, treat them like any other desire that comes up. Desire is the first hindrance. We allow it, we give it space, we become aware of it, we give it space, we let it release itself. And then we see, what's it like when desire is not present? Probably quite nice. What's it like when desire is present? Probably there's a little contraction and it's a little uncomfortable. We give that space, we love it, we tend it, and it releases in time. Peace, awareness, attentiveness, lovingness is here again. Great. Pick up the koan again if you're sitting with the koan. Basically, love it. Let it love you, you love it, carry on. So in other words, don't be seeking too much. Fine to have aspiration, but don't let it contract into seeking, desiring. That's one hazard. Another hazard is if we have such an experience, say, oh, wow, I'm done. I've seen it. I've tasted the absolute. My work is done. I've got it. Those schmucks haven't got it yet. Very, very bad. That's much worse than never having had a glimpse. It's a dismal state of mind. And we really, as a practice method that isn't sort of shy, let's say, of awakening, we have to be really, really careful about that. I think I meet Zen folks, and I'm ashamed to say I've probably been one of them, who got a little bit caught by that. So wash that away, if we're not humbled by our practice, something's off. So check, is humility kind of available? If you know what I mean. It's the right thing if humility is available right now. It's healthy, it's wholesome. It puts us in the mind of service, it puts us in the mind of generosity and of gratitude and of compassion. Another hazard is like, well, damn, I've got awakening. Well, I don't have to deal with all the other problems in my life. Well, that's absolute rubbish. That's absolute rubbish. The idea that awakening solves all our complex, multi-dimensional personality problems, rubbish. We've still got work to do, always. And that's another hazard. Yeah, okay. And I already said that the last point I had actually was the first one I said, that awakening is not the goal, it's a means to the real goal, which is come down. They say, yeah, there's the journey up the mountain. It's a hard journey. You need a lot of dedication, hopefully a guide or two, a Sherpa, as our international abbot puts it, Yamada Ryoun Roshi. Zen teachers are Sherpas. They just know the terrain a little better and can hopefully guide us helpfully up the mountain. You get to the top, you see the view. You've got to come down the mountain. You've got to come down to this world and, again, live in this bloom as part of it. Forget awakening. Don't check out with awakening. Okay, maybe that's enough for that. Yeah, I mean, I'm ending with just one last point. Don't think that I don't mean to be doing down koans in this somewhere. Not at all. They are marvelous, and they are so free. It's mind blowing, and I hope we all get a taste of this utter freedom that they contain, they express. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. We can't help but feel love more keenly in our hearts when we come to know it. What a man, Rosso. He's trying to help everybody, and the way he does it is he turns and faces the wall. He just turns around and sits facing the wall. Ah, okay. I hope, let's do likewise. I hope we all come to know what a wonder that is. Oh, so simple. Nothing special. Nothing special. It's not like I got to see what sitting really is. It's much more than it seems. No, just sitting. Just sitting. Okay. That's the end of the Teisha.